What's up, YouTube? So I've had a little while with this Bluetti power station, some time to test it out, run some things on it, and play around with it. And one of the big things I did with it today was I had this run my water pump. That's right, a water pump. I bought my sink, and I wanted to do a little temporary setup. I'll get into the details of why sooner rather than later. And so I used this to run my water pump. And the way I did it was using these extra little 12-volt ports right here. One of my biggest complaints about the Jackery has been that it has one 12-volt port. Like, no matter how big they make these things, it only has one. Now, I believe the Jackery 500 actually does have these two ports, but at some point somebody thought that these were irrelevant and they started eliminating them from the Jackeries. But this gives you two extra 12-volt ports, and when you're living off-grid full-time, this is a great little feature to have. In overall functionality, I'm going to be honest, Bluetti, Jackery, they're all good. The design of this is really nice. It's a square box, so it fits into a lot of nice places, and it has a feature that the Jackery doesn't have, which is, whoa, it's getting away from me, guys, this wireless charging port on the top. Now, I do not have a wireless charging cell phone or laptop or anything like that, so I have not used this feature. I don't know if it works. Can't verify that it works, but it does have wireless charging where you should be able to set a compatible cell phone on the top and then have it charge. Now, mine's been a little bit beat up, so there's some black marks right here, and you know, it's been used. It still looks pretty good for the use considering it's a light color. The design is nice. I like that they have two grounded plugs and then two extra plugs. They could have just not put these here, but they decided to give you as many ways to plug into this device as possible, which I really appreciated. You have the two USB ports and the two Type-C ports. This device falls kind of in the middle of two different Jackery sizes, and I'm just comparing it to the Jackery because that's the only power station where I've used a few, and so I have that as a comparison point. I haven't used Goal Zero, I haven't used EcoFlow, so this sits right between the Jackery 500 and the Jackery 1000 at a pretty decent price point and a size that Jackery doesn't offer. So that is what might make people interested about it. But what I want to cover in this video is how you have three USB ports in here. Sorry, three 12-volt ports in here, because a lot of people don't really understand how these are expandable. But before I get into that, let's talk about this video's sponsor, Skillshare. So if you haven't heard of Skillshare, you don't watch nearly as much YouTube as I do. But even still, I've been surprised diving into Skillshare how much is there for creatives to really just enhance their creativity. Not only does Skillshare offer classes in things like art and design, drawing, like editing, film and video, animation. I personally love animation, even though I'm no good at it. I actually like just watching classes on animation, and I'm just blown away by the diverse amount of things that are available to learn on Skillshare. That being said, the main thing I've been trying to get out of it is more skills that's going to help me with my YouTube channel. So in building out this box truck, honestly, one of the biggest challenges has been filming it. Filming it in a way that's engaging for you guys and fun for me. And it's hard because I'm a one-person band and also the person on camera. And so I took some time to take a class on Skillshare about filming without a film crew. Just because I was looking for some extra skills that might enhance what I was doing, make my storytelling better, and just give me ways to make it easier on myself to be my own cameraman. Skillshare is really just a creative opportunity for lifelong learners to really dive into a diverse amount of topics. And the first 1,000 people to use the link in my description will get a chance to experience a free trial premium membership. Then after that, it's only $10 a month. Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Alright, so back to these two little handy dandy thingies right here. I am going to pull some things out of a bag that I bought off of Amazon. So I bought 2 of these guys, and these guys have a 2.5 millimeter. I'll put the actual product in the links in the description of the video and in the comments section. But this end basically plugs into here. And then what you have is an additional 12-volt port. And I have 2 of these. So bam, plug these 2 in, and then I have 2 additional 12-volt ports, which means I can plug in 3 things that have 12-volt connections. Now this is the simplest way to use these 12-volt ports to expand out to more standard 12-volt ports that we're familiar with from cars. It's a 12-volt port no matter what sort of socket is on the end. I mean, that's just what it is. It's 12-volt one way or the other. Whereas your USBs are not. But they're all from the DC output section because they're all DC outputs. So this is the easiest way. You need to get one of these cables along with your Bluetti, and these are super cheap. And what it'll let you do is just create another 12-volt port, and that is the basic, super easy way you could use these 12-volt ports. But that's not the end of the story. Another way you can use these little 12-volt ports right here is with something like this. So this has a 12-volt in that fits into this size of 12-volt port, and then on this end you have a positive and negative wire, which means you could wire anything that has a positive and negative, such as roof vents, fans, just general 12-volt fans, water pumps, which is what I did. You can wire it to these negative and positive leads, and then you just plug this into your 12-volt port. In fact, this is the one that I use for my water pump. All I did was I prepped the ends of my water pump to plug onto these little bullet connectors. I decided to use bullet connectors because I knew this wasn't going to be the permanent way I use my water pump, but it let me test the water pump and use it for now in the setup that I have for now. There's my sink, by the way. And this wire back here is the water pump. I do have it wired going in that direction to another source that also has bullet connectors because I wanted a quick connect and disconnect for it for right now while I'm still in the middle of the building process. I really love this sink. It's working great. And as you can see in this video, it worked. I connected bullet connectors on the end of here, but you also could directly wire it. If you have a roof fan with positive and negative leads, you just crimp, you know, a joining cable on it or a quick disconnect or something like that. Anything with positive, negative, and positive leads, you could get one of these cables and plug it into your Bluetti and then have that be functional. So that's why I'm very sad that Jackeries no longer have these, because they are very useful things when you're trying to do some direct wiring if you know how to do it. And I think because a lot of these power stations are marketed to laymen, basically people who are used to just plugging stuff in and not having to deal with any sort of wiring, it's kind of started to be phased out by some people who produce power stations, but they are really, really useful, and that's really honestly the biggest feature that makes this stand a little bit of a cut above the Jackery for me for full-time living. And that's not to say the Jackery is not a good machine. It's a very good machine, but I would say they're the Apple, this is the Android. And when Apple and Android started out, Apple iPhone, the first generation of it, was in more ways than not far ahead of the Android. Now, the great thing about the Android is it was very customizable. I am an Android fan. I have owned Android phones since version 1. But it's a system that's designed to be flexible. People skin over Android and people don't even realize they're using Android. A lot of e-readers that also are basically tablets are just skinned over at Android because it's that flexible. So if you enjoy that flexibility, that's when you're kind of probably going to be more happy with the Bluetti than you would the Jackery. The Jackery is a take it out of the box and it works and you don't have to think about anything type of device. So the fact that they've sort of phased these out doesn't really surprise me. So the other thing I really love about this is it comes with MC4 to 8mm connection. This is the same connection that's been present on Goal Zero, the Jackeries from the smallest up to the 1000 before they changed it out in the new 1500. So this is a fairly standard connector with an MC4N, which means even though Bluetti offers their own solar panel, they do give you the option of hooking up to regular old normal solar panels. Now, I didn't need to use this because I already have like 3 versions of this cord that I personally own. But if you bought this from Bluetti, out of the box, you could hook to any solar panel with MC4 connections. And in the United States, most solar panels you buy are going to have MC4 connections. Now, what you can't do is put a bunch of panels in series. It just doesn't have the capacity to take in that much power. But even still, the flexibility with a portable system to hook up to whatever solar panel you want is really a great advantage. Now, of course, like most of the other makers on the market, they include a cable to charge while you're driving and then a big power brick to charge via the wall. Not much to say about this. It works just as well as anything. All of these power stations charge kind of slow. Like, that's why I say you should always get a power station that you don't plan to deplete every day unless you have a really good power source to hook into, or you're just taking it out for a weekend trip and then you're going to charge it up on the wall when you get home. Recently, my show opened in Oakland. I took this into the theater, plugged it into a wall to top it off because honestly, the best charge I was getting from solar was like a trickle charge. I had one really good day of sun and then kind of some crappy days. So I was having a hard time getting this charge back up just because I taxed it just to tax it. And so that kind of sucked, but I took it in, I ran the show for 2 hours, and by then this thing was pretty much charged up. So that was good. It wasn't on empty. It may have been in the 20 or 40% category. I don't really remember. I just grabbed it out the truck. I grabbed the power brick, which is very big, by the way, and I took it inside. Now, I know one of the big things that's come up about this is this seems, as soon as you plug it in, to have a fan noise. Now, for me personally, I'm never using this on a wall charge when I need it to be quiet. At night, I don't have this plugged in because I don't have a power source to plug it into at night. I get my best power in the morning when the sun is out. So I never have this plugged into an inverter or any kind of house plug or wall plug at night anyway. So I haven't really had a problem with the fact that the fan is pretty much running all the time, rather the Bluetti is plugged in or not. But the fan seems to always be going in this thing as soon as you plug it in. I barely have noticed it in the times that I have plugged it into some kind of wall situation, because either I was in a situation that wasn't quiet anyway, or I was charging via the car or solar. So it hasn't really been a big deal to me that it has that noise, but I know like that might be an issue for some other people. So one of the things I also am not a big fan of is there is no button to just trigger your screen. If you have any of your buttons activated, the screen will come up, and then if it goes dark, I don't know how long this is going to take to go dark. When it does go dark, because it's not going dark, I swear, when I want it to stay up, it doesn't stay up, but whatever. There we go, it just went out. Well, basically, while this button is active, you can hit it. You can hit any of these buttons, but like the difference between like triggering the screen on just to see what your charge is versus hitting the button so that you can activate any of these areas is kind of wonky. Like, the good thing about the Jackery is there is a button that you can push and it will immediately show you the screen with all the information. How much power is coming in if you're charging, how much power is going out if you're charging other devices and taking power out, and also what your state of charge is. Another thing I'm not a big fan of with this is the 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100, because it doesn't really give you all of the information. When it has a 20%, it could be anywhere between 1 and 20%. When it has a 40%, it could be anywhere between like 21 and 40%. When it's at the 60%, it could be anywhere between 41 and 60%, at the end, etc., etc. So I could unplug this thinking I have a 100% charge, and I could just have enough above 80 that it's showing the 100% bar, but that's not really true. It isn't really at 100%. And like I said, when the screen goes off, I have to pick one of these buttons to try to trigger the screen back on so I can see it, because it doesn't have a dedicated button that's just dedicated to the screen. You can only get it to come up by hitting one of your power areas, be that DC, AC, or light. So it's easy to accidentally turn off the AC just trying to see what your state of charge is, or accidentally turn off the DC just trying to see what your state of charge is. And I like this light. But like a lot of times I'll hit that one because that's the one closest, and then I'm accidentally turning on the light when I don't want it. So that's sort of that's some of the things that design wise I don't like as much about the Bluetti. What I do like is the square shape, the flat handle. Like if you wanted to store this in a custom box or a shelf built just for it, there's really no wasted space, unlike the Jackery, which has a permanently raised handle. So that permanently raised handle could be seen as almost a waste of space because you can't cleanly fit it in a box. I do think their 12-volt cover is way more heavy duty and nicer. Jackery has one on the Jackery, and I've broken one off by accident already. So, yeah, I think this one is made way nicer, and it's just a totally nicer cover on their 12-volt port, if that matters to you. So yeah, I mean, like, I don't know how much more I can say about this thing. Is this a good buy if you're looking for a decent amount of power at a fairly reasonable price compared to some other power stations on the market? Yes. If you're very fond of being able to charge from your own panels, yes. If you feel like you can get use out these extra 12-volt ports, absolutely yes. The expandability of these two little guys are really what impresses me most about this machine as somebody who's been doing this for a while, just because it gives you so many more options of making this work for those first steps into dealing with electricity without having to jump all in, because you know, you're just getting used to wiring things to 12-volt if you have this guy, and that's kind of cool. I also like that out of the box, they're like, if you want to not use our panel, that's great. And if you do want their panel, it's available. It's easy. The inverter is a pure sine wave inverter, and it's a pretty good machine with 700 watts. And there's a lot you can do with 700 watts. In some ways, I feel like this device understands how people live off grid better than the Jackery does. The Jackery seems very much, I want to make this as comfortable for you being outdoors, if that makes any sense. It's like, these are things you're familiar with. Even the fact that it leans to continuing to expand the number of AC ports as it gets into bigger units, while still only keeping one 12-volt port, even though they have a giant face where they can fit more, tells me they're like, what are they going to need multiple 12-volt ports for? Obviously, they want to bring their household items that are going to plug into the inverter. And so their device leans towards giving you ways to plug in things that you would just bring from a house. Whereas I feel like this device understands people who may understand the usefulness of the 12-volt option. And that is where I see this as a really nice machine for somebody looking for something simple to go camping with, to weekend with, or to have as a little side power station in their vehicle while still having like a main power system. It's a great little device. You will be completely happy if you buy this. And so, yeah, that's all I got for this video. By the way, I have given away my Jackery 1000. It happened kind of randomly. I have a little bit of footage I can show you guys. So I was hanging out in like one of my favorite spots to just chill at during the day, mostly because I get great sun, which you can probably tell but from the glare in the camera screen. So I'm just sitting in my box truck right here chilling, and I hear somebody say, "Dawn, I follow you." And then I came outside. Over here is local van dweller
Paulette. Hey.
Hi, Paulette. And also Paulette was saying, I can't wait to buy a Jackery one day. I'm really thinking about buying a Jackery. And then I went in my box truck and I gave her my Jackery 1000.
Oh my God.
So I wasn't looking to give it away. Like, literally, it felt like the moment to do what I needed to do kind of fell into my lap when I heard a voice outside the box truck saying, "Dawn, I'm one of your subscribers." And like I said in the video, like, she just casually said she was trying to save up for a Jackery, and here I am sitting here with extra power stations, and I hadn't done a review on this one yet, so I wasn't ready to give this one away yet, but probably I will find a new home for the Bluetti, and not because I don't like it. I really like this, but trying to keep like multiple power stations charged is actually more of a chore than just concentrating on one or two. And the 1500 is my biggest battery. It's just smart to keep my biggest battery, even if I like the design of this more in a lot of ways. And I love my Jackery 300. Like, I would not give that up. I love my Jackery 300. I've said that a bunch of times. It's fast to charge. It's super actually portable, more portable even than the Bluetti just because it's smaller. I think the Bluetti eb70, and some of their smaller units that are available on their website, like, those are in the same portability category as my little 300. Like, that thing is so easy to pick up and walk around with while carrying other items and additional items that you'd want to charge in it, whereas these larger stations are not really good for that. And honestly, I just needed the one biggest station that I had available. So I don't know how I'm going to find this guy a new home, but somewhere out there, I feel like there is another home for this Max Oak Bluetti, and whoever gets it is going to love it because it's a great little device. So sometimes I feel like there's a kindness in van life that isn't present in other parts of life, in that people exchange in this really like loving way that's kind of cool. So I gave Paulette a power station, and she did a favor for me, and it wasn't really an exchange. It was just that we met and she really just wanted to help me out, as she knew I was on a journey to build out my box truck. And so what she did was, I had these blackout curtains that I was using in my windows, but I just kind of chopped up a curtain and I didn't do it that well, and so she took my curtains, and by the end of the day she got them back to me all hemmed up and much nicer looking than they were. She actually offered to make me some new curtains, but like, I couldn't really make a decision on like what I wanted. I was like, honestly, what I have works. If somebody who's not me just hemmed them up so that they didn't look all janky and jagged on the ends, that would be great for me. And so she did me that favor, and that meant the world to me, and I love just looking up at my nicely hemmed curtains now. So on to YouTube business. First of all, if you have any questions about the Bluetti eb70 or would like to purchase it, or the AC50, I do have Bluetti links in the description of this video and probably a pinned comment as well. Obviously, there's a link to Skillshare. If you want to check out Skillshare, clicking on my link and going there, even if you're not one of the first 1,000 to get a free premium membership, basically just lets them know that I sent you in that direction. So that helps me out. Leaving comments helps me out. Leaving thumbs up helps me out. If you're really like, I didn't like this video, and want to give me a thumbs down or tell me I sold out or you're sick of commercials, you can do all that too in the comment section or the thumbs up or thumbs down section, you know, whatever floats your boat. Otherwise, thank you to my Patreon and YouTube membership subscribers. You guys are the best, just honestly are the best, and I don't know what I would do without you. But also, everyone who watches videos, who likes videos, who comments on videos, you keep this YouTube channel going too. So you're super valuable too, and so many of you have been here since I was a tiny itty bitty YouTuber, and I appreciate all of you.